So, hello again. And for the much awaited men's panel, here we are, the spirit of fatherhood. We're pregnant, is that correct? The name of the panel? Somebody can tell us, Wolfgang or Francois?
You forgot the
Spiritual
middle.
fatherhood, preparing a safe space, and ooh, we are pregnant.
Wow. So, I'd like to introduce the 4 men on the panel. And we'll start with Patrick. So Patrick, for 4 decades, has worked in the field of health and wholeness, and in particular birth as a conscious creative process. In 1980, he and his then wife created the first documented water birth in the USA. In 2006, he co-founded with Elmer Postel the initiative Fathers to Be and published his Fathers to Be handbook in support of parents and childbirth professionals. Wow. Welcome, Patrick, a real pioneer of first documented water birth in the USA. That's one to hang up, isn't it? A milestone.
My pleasure.
And you're in Texas, joining us from Texas, I believe.
I am. Austin, Texas, yes.
Austin, Texas. Oh, fantastic. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank God you haven't got the local accent.
No.
And so we also have with us Timothy Hall, who is the creator of the Facebook page, Days of Zen. He's an artist, a writer, and a musician, as well as a husband and a father. Yay for Timothy, welcome. And where are you coming in from, Timothy?
I'm signing in from Lansdale, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Pennsylvania. So 2 across the other side of the pond. Welcome.
Thank you.
And our very own, one of our organizing team, Wolfgang Steiner, who is the father of 3 daughters and 3 sons. So 6 children, 1 egged twin daughters and 2 egged twin sons. So if you can get your mind around that one. When he started consciously breathing, in this very moment, his first child was conceived. He teaches conscious breathing since 2002 and founded in 2019 the online Worldwide Breathing Circle. And Wolfgang is originally from Austria and now living in Serbia.
In Serbia, yes.
Fantastic. Welcome, Wolfgang.
Thank you very much.
And my beloved husband and partner, Francois, who has a passion for the human being, from the deep mysteries of the subconscious mind to the higher realms of the spiritual world. He has helped numerous people to deal with deeply buried trauma and limiting core beliefs. He's a professional alchemical hypnotherapist and trainer, and has also enjoyed a long career as an airline pilot. Last but not least, he is the co-founder with his wife, Julie, that's me, of Birth the Change and Birthing the New Humanity. So welcome, Francois. So we have our men's panel, and I've been asked to read out some questions that the panel are going to answer for us. And then hopefully we'll have some time where you, the participants, can also put some questions to the panel. So question number 1, what do we mean by the spirit of fatherhood?
That's it. That's a question. Patrick?
Yes. When I started this journey of Fathers to Be, it occurred to me that fathers didn't know what they didn't know. And they had really not been giving the kind of support necessary so they could contribute from their heart and their body as well as they potentially could. And so I wrote my book, The Fathers to Be Handbook. And in that process, in a morning meditation, came to this thought, the spirit of fatherhood. and wrote a piece for the book about that. And what it entails is the father's journey is so different than the mother's journey, because mother's doing the heavy lifting. You know, she has 9 months of not only carrying the child, but getting to know the child in a very, very intimate way by having another human being inside of her body. Yet the father is on the side. He isn't physically involved in the same way. And so the invitation for him is to find his way in. And what is his role? I mean, one way I put it is to, in the birth process itself, is to do nothing, but do it very, very well. And so he's holding space. There's a role reversal. You know, our typical of men is they're doing the heavy lifting, they're doing the big work, they're doing the muscle thing well. And the woman is more contemplative and more meditative. Well, in birth, the roles are reversed. The woman is doing the big work, so to speak. And the man's job is to hold the space, to be still, to be creative in a different sense. So within his role as a father, to me, his opportunity is to embrace the child and embrace the family in a way that supports the physical, yes, the earning the money, doing the job, that sort of thing, yes. However, his holding creates an environment and a vessel, if you will, for that child to grow into. And that growing is not the physical growing, it's the emotional, spiritual, psychological soul birth, so that he can witness and support the child's unfoldment and coming into who it is they have chosen to be in this lifetime. So it's not so much about the father teaching the child XYZ in their life. There will be plenty of that as they hold hands on this journey together. However, to me, the father's highest role is to embrace the spirit of that child and to listen very, very carefully to what it is that child wants and needs and is going to be in their journey in their lifetime. And so that is a very sacred thing, yet it is very unphysical. It's very invisible, perhaps. And so it's the father's opportunity, or the partner, male, female, it's the same thing, the non-birthing person, to hold that child in such a way that they can unfold and become that the highest thought they have about themselves and what they've chosen for this life's journey. So it's what I've called the spirit of fatherhood. And to me, there is no higher purpose for a man but to hold that and be that, and to let go of his own ego and let go of his own needs in that way, and not try to mold the child, but yet hold that child in a way that they can really blossom in love and joy and be with the family that has invited them to come and be there.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. I've put down in the chat these two things that really struck me. So for men, doing nothing but doing it very well. What a concept. That is really amazing. And the other one, no higher purpose for the man to be this father. Wow, that's very, very strong. So the spirit of fatherhood, thank you so much, Patrick.
You're welcome.
We'll want maybe Tim or Wolfgang, would you want to add a few words to these first questions?
I would like to, but I don't get visible, but doesn't matter.
You are visible, very visible, quite handsome actually.
Actually, to these words, what I just heard from Patrick, I want to put some moments of silence and just to breathe that in for everyone. Maybe you never heard that before. And just to breathe that in, what you just heard. Because this space of having time to breathe in maybe a situation of stress, we have only half an hour, and still to take the moment of taking a conscious breath, that is very representative for me for being a father. To carry something in a time where it's not possible. No, calm down and take the breath. Stop running with your bicycle and get on the bicycle and drive it. That is the job of a father.
Wolfgang, I'm so brought up just the action of taking a breath. For me, when Patrick was speaking and I was assimilating these ideas of doing nothing and the spiritual aspect of fatherhood, spirit is a sense of nothingness that we can connect to directly with breath.
Yes.
Fantastic.
There is a
Wonderful, thank
quietness
you.
there. There is.
And Francois, do you?
Yes, I would like to add my experience, which is actually in this lifetime not the experience of a father, and even more so by the fact that my father physically left or died when I was 11 years old. So I'm left with I would nearly say, a fairly pure and untouched vision of what my father felt like. And the idea of the spirit of fatherhood is exactly what I feel when I tune into him. I have this sense of connection with absolutely everything from the spiritual world, like he comes from the spiritual world, and he connects me and guides me to discover the physical world. So it just and all this with a sense of safety, like my father is Zorro, you know. I mean, it's just like nothing can ever make me unsafe when he's around. And this feeling, this beautiful meaning of what it means to be strong, in other words, this absolute strength, which is actually tenderness. That's how I feel this robust feeling of my father's spirit.
Francois is one that I call a bonus father. He's not a biological father, yet he is contributing to the family and to fatherhood on a daily basis through the work that he does.
Absolutely, and I can testify to that one. So the next question is, how do you create the space for the new being you've called?
Well, I'd like to field this question because creating the space did not come naturally for me when I found out that I was going to be a father. For me, I began to feed myself intellectually as much as possible. And I ran towards every book I could find, every friend who had already gone through it, to tell me, what am I supposed to do? What can I expect? Who am I supposed to be? And all of that was really feeding my ego more than it was feeding the truth of the situation. I wanted to have all the knowledge, which at the moment of birth, really none of that became as important. In fact, everything that was about me, who do I need to be, stopped, and I ceased to exist. And now there was this new life, and all I was a space to be anything that was needed at that time.
Wow.
Perfect. That's the pinnacle of paying attention and of surrender. I love it. Thank you.
I see it happening all the time when I'm creating. There's what do I have to create? What do people need to see? What do they need to hear? And then all of the thoughts go away, and then the space opens up for the creation to actually happen.
Beautiful. And Pooja, a doctor from Hyderabad in India, is saying, beautifully expressed him in the chat.
Thank you.
Definitely, definitely. This idea of holding a space is really something absolutely fundamental and beautiful. Have you noticed that there are people when you're around them, and they don't have to be physically strong, or they don't have to be enormously wealthy, or all this kind of thing we attach to safety. There are people who emanate safety. When you are next to them, you feel safe. And I find that something quite funny, that the times of my life where I probably felt the safest I've ever felt, when I was this completely vulnerable, naked baby in my father's arms. And I mean, had he let go of me, I would be dead. But nothing in the world could ever happen to me at that moment. And there is a sense of sacredness there. And it's not so much being safe, it's feeling safe in this incredible space. And I feel that if I was able to feel that, he probably organized that for my mother before. So that's why I was able to experience that as well.
Wonderful. And Wolfgang, do you have something to say about that?
Well, it would lead me into the next question, actually, and so I have nothing to say now.
Okay, so I'll go on with the next question. So the next question is, wow, we are pregnant. How do you live this as a father?
I would like to take you on a journey. Imagine you're a man. Just allow this for a moment. If you're a woman, imagine you're a man and you're together with a woman. And imagine, like I had it, we allowed a baby to come. We were ready. And it didn't happen. We had beautiful times, we had sex, so we were ready to conceive, and it didn't happen. And then a moment happened when I started conscious breathing, and a week later, my first daughter was conceived. So, the mother first experiences the period is not coming, sensations in the body, and that might not be the moment to talk to the man. So even as a man, when you know it's possible since half a year, you don't count on when the woman comes up and say, baby, I'm pregnant. So this is the moment, even when you know as a man, it's possible. I have 6 children, and not one of them was like, wow, we are pregnant. Everyone, even when you have the thought it's possible, when it's coming, my wife knew it before, and when she came to tell me, it's always news. And somehow that's a message from me as a father. The woman is always a step ahead because she feels, she has it in her. She knows her body. She might not be 100% sure, and still she knows it always before the man. Just as a side note, she also knows who is the possible father. The man never really knows. Don't let us be disturbed by that. Just let's see also these facts which are there. So as a father, you get the information, and then you're standing in front of facts. Wow. So even when you're ready, if it's the first child, I want to share with you some things what's going on in a man. Maybe you had 2 weeks ago, or a week ago, or just yesterday, a beautiful intimate space with your wife. When this moment comes, everything's changing. You don't become a father. In this very moment, you are already a father. The mother doesn't think about getting a child. She has it already in her. She is already preparing for the birth. the body is rearranging, hormones are rearranging. So, and now, yeah, what's going on as a man? You think, how to behave? Shall I still ask for intimate moments? Am I too active? I want to be careful, especially when it's your first child. You have no idea. No matter how much you prepared, which friend you asked, how many books you read, nobody had your wife. So even a mother is always differently every time. And in the 4 pregnancy I had, she was always different. So even the same woman is different every time in each pregnancy. So that's thrilling. You have no idea what to do. The only thing you can do is releasing everything what you plan and to come back in this very moment and to try to feel and to give what is needed now. Every concept is supposed to fail. So, and with this feeling, no concept, I mean, I love to plan. When I make a woodcraft, I'm making a drawing, I make exact measures, then I think again. So I love to plan. And as Patrick mentioned before, usually I make the heavy stuff and she is more contemplative. And right now, exactly the opposite is asked. It's necessary. Everything else does not work. Any pregnancy, of course, the first one, I realized not even her knew what she needed. So how shall I know? It's really about to release everything, to come into this very moment and not to judge anything because she's even behaving weird. And she does. It's not about saying, no, it's nice. No, there is moment it's not nice, because if it's painful, when it's confusing for her, this confusion is coming to me. And I have to deal with it and figure out, is it my confusion? Is it her confusion? And not to judge it and to take it and to deal with it in this space. That is what a father is in this very moment already. Besides all this, to talk to the baby. I did all this, to talk to the baby through the belly. It's amazing. We played Mozart and it was really amazing. The baby came out, the very first daughter, and it was such a beautiful connection. So the whole pregnancy is a whole roller coaster. Sex, no sex. Then she comes and wants sex. You know, it's really, you never know what to count on. The weirdest things are happening and the most beautiful things are happening. Then it's a topic about how to birth the baby. In a private clinic, in a hospital, in a public clinic, at home, in nature. I did everything. I had 2 cesareans. I had the most beautiful private clinic, and I had a home birth with my wife here with our youngest son. My conclusion is, as a father, to support her whatever she needs. If she is not happy and safe, she needs an ICU OR next to her, because that gives her strength. I'm not a fan of it, and I'm hoping it's getting much less than today, but I met a lot of women, friends of my wife. They said, I'm going to the big hospital because there is the ICU and the OR. She needed that. She's so unsafe. She's pregnant. It's not about to deal with her and convince her to do something what is not her idea. She needs what she needs, and it's good that she expresses it and goes for it. So the father has to carry that with her. On the other side, I can absolutely witness a home birth. Our youngest son is made at home, delivered at home. He never got vaccinated. He never saw a doctor. He never was in hospital. an absolute personality. That's my absolute recommendation, but that doesn't mean to convince any woman who needs something else to do something what is not out of her power. But first, I think there must be a consciousness within the mother, and the father goes with her. And what we can do is respect and reverence. So it's not easy, because the baby is taking the tits of your wife, which are not available for you, and that brings up shadows. And this space of shadows, I think, that is something what my wish and my idea out of this Birth the New Humanity conference is. To have a circle of men where men can share with each other these shadows. Because it's not about to tell the wife, it's about to share within man and to hear that I'm not alone. And to deal with that with each other. And my experience is, I made man circles for 10 years. I got so happy with myself that I eventually didn't need depressed anymore. I'm absolutely happy with them, but I don't need them. And I think this is the base. When you get a child, then you're not jealous. Otherwise, there is a jealousy projected on the child. And I wish for Birth the New Humanity, for all variations, great support for the mothers, and men care about the support they need, which is certainly something else than women need, and to find the space and then to come together to create a child.
Wow, how fantastic, Wolfgang. Really, I think we're all speechless. It's just gone straight into our heart, hasn't it? And people are saying in the chat, you know, if all men need to hear this, so we need to get that men's circle out, you know, into the world and get more people joining up so that they can be helped and shown by those who've already gone before them to have a totally different experience. So thank you so much. That's absolutely wonderful. Does anybody else want to address the question of, wow, we are pregnant?
Well, I'll just say one quick thing, that for a father, it's almost as though he has to adopt the child. The mother has this ongoing relationship that's developed over 9 months, yet the father being on the outside, it is a form of adoption for him. And that may sound just a little funny, but if you think about it, and this you know, if it comes from his heart, if he leaves behind the ego and he just jumps in and says, yes, this child is mine to behold, then job done.
Wow, beautiful. Tim,
I would like to.
François,
Okay.
you have to unmute yourself, François, if you want to speak.
No, I just wanted to share something which I haven't had to live in this lifetime, but being a pilot, I've had the occasion to fly with a lot of young stewardess. And as they saw me a little bit like a father or a healer, they very often they would just come to me and tell me their problems. And one of the things I realized, actually men as well were going there, is this time where women have all these, seems to be these hormonal changes and all these things, and they start actually, as I think Wolfgang said, not really knowing what they actually want. At that time is very important for the man not to stress in trying to understand what she wants, even getting annoyed about it, and then trying to deliver what she wants, which obviously he will have translated that into something material, when actually what she's looking for seems to be reassured that he is there for her, with an energy, with a patience, with yes, I will give you what you want because I am here for you, rather than you can have this, you can have this, you can have that, which seems to be very, I mean, at least in France, I've seen a lot of this, and it's just a different way of thinking about what is the energy of a man and how it can be manifested for the best for the woman he's with. Wolfgang.
And to add to that, this male energy, I believe, is not just in men, but it's something that can be accessed and used on a broader scale, on a universal scale, as we watch a new humanity being birthed, and we hold that space for that possibility.
Wow.
Oh,
See, one question which was actually connecting to that, like if a woman could facilitate a men's circle. In its very clarity, no. If there is no man who would facilitate man, I would say yes. To start it until a man comes up to take it over, and then to release it for the sake of support of the man. So my first intention was no, but when I've thought and felt into it, I said, yes, it is better if you start a men's circle, and men are coming, but eventually it makes a difference when men are with each other without a woman. It makes a difference. It's not about against women, it's just about to have this space where men share, and it's about the wound. It's about some vulnerability, which is, it's about embarrassment. It's about something you never shared with someone, and the man shares it with another man, sharing his wound, and then things come up, and that is somehow the deal, and it stays in the room. So it has its privacy. It's a sacred space, and amazing energy comes up with all the emotions. So I hope I answered the question.
There is a man who I highly respect, who is in the audience here, and he said, "I have a thought question too." And Gary, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Francois. Yes, I would. Wolfgang, amazing. We've got to know each other, and I love your aura around fatherhood when we've been doing things, and your children hover around you. Your incredible patience with them is a wonder to see. My thought is that we're talking about the mother, we're talking about the father. In this instance, more about the father, as if we're sort of islands. But actually, this creates waves in ever increasing dynamics and size, right? The father has friends. Some of those friends might be fathers, many of them might not be. And so this desire, need, let's say urgency to understand the whole process goes beyond just the father. I believe it, all the circles that we're involved in, whether it be the workplace, whether it be our friends we go out on a Friday night or playing tennis with or whatever. Obviously the same goes for mothers, but if we stick to the fathers, I think there's a lot of peer pressure as well from other men saying, well, why have you changed so much? Or why do you spend so much time with your wife suddenly? She's just had a child. I mean, I don't want to judge, but I feel there's often a lot of lack of generosity or understanding out there. What are your thoughts on that, Wolfgang?
Well, I think to live the family I want to live, I have to take risks. And the life changes. As soon my wife tells me she's pregnant, I'm father, and it changes my life. Maybe I was out every second night with friends because she had her girl evenings, women evenings. That is just changing. And from the archetype position, we talked about archetypes, the king, the queen, the inner child. From an archetype, before I was the prince, when I'm the father, I'm becoming the king. And the king behaves differently than the prince.
I remember this big woman, it was in Hawaii. She was driving a shuttle, you know, and you know how round they can be. And she was talking about her boyfriend, and we were just having a very casual talk. And I asked her like that, said, is he nice? He's a nice boyfriend. She said, definitely, she said. You know what my father said? She said, he said, it takes a boy to make a child, but it takes a man to raise a child. And I like that. I like that very much. Philosophy, shuttle philosophy, but it touched my heart.
We were talking about in the preparation, we had 3 months of meetings now before this Congress. And where we actually came to was also thinking about this boy who can produce a child, make a child, and who is raising the child. Actually, today, from my perspective, we have a lot of princes running around. They might even be 50 years or 60 years old. They never became a man. And actually this transition in the old times or in tribes, in nature, there is something called initiation. An initiation ritual is the task of taking the boy consciously into the circle of man, where he's actually in contact with man in a way he can respect. When I'm outside now, when I go to the pub, wherever, in the job, I hardly saw men I really felt I respect. I respected for position in hierarchy, in something what I wanted to achieve. But I hardly ever felt a man I really felt the respect. And just a little note, I'm really thrilled for this last 3 months. 6 years ago, I bought Patrick Hauser's book. And this year, Francois said, I have a friend, he was with us 3 years ago, and he said his name. And I said, I don't know, I know this name. And then Patrick showed up, and then I saw the book. And then I realized that I'm sitting together with the man I know since six years from the book. This is something where I felt grown respect. It's not something like it's there and you have to. Respect is something you have to deserve for a reason. It's not old men. I know a lot of old men. It's about a wisdom around the person.
Thank
So
you.
beautiful. So beautiful. Francois, you have to unmute yourself.
Maybe, Julie, you would like to just look at if there's some question which needs to be addressed. Could be the
Yes,
time.
absolutely. I didn't want to disturb all that. It was such a beautiful flow. I think many of us are mesmerized and by the beauty and the power and the simplicity of all the words that you've shared. We can feel that it's impregnated with, as you said, with wisdom, with caring, with love. It's like everybody is saying, well, all the men should hear this. And how can we share this? So let's go to some of the questions in the chat. Barbara is saying it's important for the father to address his experience as a child and his father and the father he wants to be. So it's more of a comment than a question.
Well, just a short note, that happens in the circle of man. You confront yourself with your inner child, you confront yourself with your father, with your father's fathers. That is actually happening in the circle of man.
So Pragya is asking, would love to know more about the jealousy coming to an end with the birth of the child.
The jealousy comes to an end. No.
That's the question.
No, it starts. It was there before because the intimacy absolutely changes, and that is very often the experience the man really, what connects the man with the woman on a physical level. So the physical part is taken away very often, not necessarily, but very often. And when the birth happened, it becomes even more, because you see the breast, you see the baby on the breast, you actually see the act, like sucking on the breast, which you might do as a man. And now it's the baby's space, and the woman doesn't even look at you because she is in contact with the baby. So this jealousy is starting and going on for a while. And it's really important to be happy with myself. And actually, I found my peace in the circle of man, actually really feeling deep inside me that I'm happy with myself, complete, that I don't need a woman. So the presence of a woman was completely changing in this moment.
So we have another question right up here. Raquel is asking, my question for the men and fathers. As a new birth keeper, I'm looking for the best way to support fathers and fathers-to-be. What do you feel is the best way for me to support fathers? I particularly focus on holistic nutrition and thought about producing a handbook for fathers with nutritious recipes to cook in the days after birth.
That would certainly be useful. And when I've worked with midwives and doulas and birth educators, one of the things I speak with them about is how to approach the man and speak to the man. And men are oftentimes more focused on the, rather than the emotional side, more on the physical. So there's how do you feel and there's what do you think? And so in being with a man during this time, it may work better to start with what do you think and then work your way into how do you feel, and to make sure that there's not an inquisition energy, but an energy of support and loving and caring, so that he feels safe to reveal himself.
That's wonderful. That's so important, isn't it? Not the inquisition, but that he feels supported and safe enough to open. Beautiful.
I have a very practical point. The book Fathers to Be is a simple way to have a man speaking to a man without his actual presence. Have the book, get the book, and standing there, a man will see Fathers to Be sitting with his wife in your praxis in the hospital. He will grab it. That's Patrick talking to him, possibly all over the world.
While I was scrambling for information, what Patrick says really resonates with me, because it was one friend who said, all of this that you're doing is because you care. That alone is what is most needed.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Tim. Gary wanted to say something, I believe. I thought I saw a sign from Gary. Yes.
You were reading my thoughts, actually, I think. I hope this is not banal. I was wanting to add, I can't remember who said they wanted to write this book. Apologies. But maybe an add-on, another little chapter. In my experience, men want to talk about 4 different topics: sports, money, jobs, cars, that's 5, and sex. And women are so abundant with the topics they talk about. And I know this is judgmental, and I'll exclude effeminate men and gays from that. So maybe that little chapter could be an add-on of topics to talk about when you've had a child. And, you know, a little bit lighthearted, but maybe something serious there.
Wonderful. So are there any other questions?
I would like to share. Yes, I would like to share something very briefly about my experience of looking at parents, couples of parents who give birth to a child, and I realized that very, very often their children carry some aspects of their own subconscious mind. They are like mirrors of their inner life. Already in the man-woman relationship, there is this sometimes very challenging reality that we react to each other not so much to what we are saying, but to what we feel, because we are just both vulnerable in front of each other, and we say things, but actually what's happening, the most important is happening, is what's happening in our subconscious mind, in our emotions, and which create reactions, because we get the feeling that the other person is not talking the truth. They are not saying what is really happening. They are not really caring about us. And all these things will somehow, I would say, get concretized in the realization of this child, who very often carries all the beauty, all the love, all the harmony between the two parents, and also the unfinished work. And they will be like, you know this thing that you thought you may have as a tiny little difficulty, here it is in front of you, like in 3D, and you look at it and you deal with it now.
It's been said that a child is your mind in 3 dimensions running around out here in the world. And that includes all of your personal history that hasn't been healed and all of your experience.
Absolutely.
So some questions which are going pretty much in the same direction about how to support men, to bring them into men's circles or something like this. And that's not possible. So my biggest advice is leave the man alone. And I would like to share a little episode, how I came to the circle of men. A question was if we were like this all the time. Certainly not. And it can go pretty fast. When I started breathing, I was sitting in my very first breathing weekend. I was sitting next to a woman, and she was sharing about women's circle. And don't believe that I was so in peace and happy to hear that. I was sitting to her and I got angry. And I want to share with you what I said, because that's what it was. I thought to myself, fucking women's circles. And I want to share with you why I like to say that here, because this was the energy making me a couple of weeks later realizing I want to have a men's circle. And to get this men together takes a lot of energy, because they don't move their asses. It's a fact. You have a men's circle with men and they see how good it is, and the next time they are not coming. So it needs this energy to bring the men together. In this very moment, it was not nice, because I was really angry, but I didn't express this anger towards this woman. Today, I'm grateful for this moment, having this energy and this clarification process, which was actually creating my very first men's circle, because I didn't have one around. I had to create one for myself because there was none. And this energy made me, I created. And that's the reason why I founded my first men's circle in 2003. For the women, make women's circle for the sake of that you need it. and enjoy it, not for the sake of something else, but for yourself. And that's a showcase. And the men eventually will become so, they want that too. They want maybe to join the women's circle, but that's not a solution. Eventually, they know by themselves they need a men's circle. And the men's circle is something what we had the dream to create out of this conference continuously afterwards. So this is actually something like a starting point. We want to found a circle of men which continues after that for men all over the world.
Thank you, Wolfgang. I would like some of us maybe to answer Pragya's question. What about men who are not so open? And oh, now it's moving. Yes, what about men who are not so open and aware or with unprocessed self-work? She said, were you all like these perfect men from before? And she said, as a spinster, I am so hopeful to listen to all you men talking like this. So, okay, so the main question is that what about men who are not so open and aware? What would you have to say? Let's start with our senior Patrick.
Well, as a man, your default setting as a father is how your own father was with you. And the parallel, of course, is for women, for their mother. And so first is awareness. Oh, that's my default setting. Just like with the computer, that's where it always goes when it doesn't know where else to go. And so it is important to explore, to expand, to be in conversation and communion with others in order to tune into this process. Because if you did not have a wonderful example for a father, then either you set up with that default setting and you operate that way, which is not a very good legacy for your children, or oftentimes you'll swing the other way in aversion to that and you'll act this exact opposite way. However, neither one is a choice. You're not being in choice when you do that. What's necessary is to come to this place of understanding that I am me and this is my family that I'm putting my arms around. And for me to let go into that space and say, okay, what's wanted and needed and how can I fill this space in the most loving way?
While I may be a perfect man now, this was not always the case.
Well done. You made it.
And
Secret
there is
recipe, please.
there's a beauty of watching awareness emerge out of unawareness.
Absolutely.
I'd like to mention something, if I may. I think it might be a thought to address the egotistical side of men along the lines of, if you would prefer to have 10 years of bliss, reflect upon all this information now in the 10 months before your child is born and learn. It might be a brutal statement, but you know, as Tim was saying, I mean, who's to judge whether we're perfect men or not? I was lucky to have a father who was a gentle giant and a wonderful husband. So it's hard to relate to some men who have had awful childhoods or very macho fathers, and it's going to be an uphill climb, not an impossible one, but I think if we try and look at all the instruments that are available to us to help us not convince, enlighten men for their own sake, that would be terrific.
Yes. The experience I've had with people who adults, that they are men or women, who are very dysfunctional, is that inside themselves there is a very unhappy child. very often a traumatized child, and this is something which is somehow quite difficult to see through, because the role of this huge big personality which has developed for this person has been to actually protect this child from the world. So what they are showing you is exactly the opposite of what they feel in their heart. And this is how you realize that very often, if you deliberately choose not to answer the solid man who is just misbehaving and very angry or whatever, and address the miserable little child who feels so terrible, you'll find that the person is actually identified with this child much more than what they think, and that they very often will melt fairly easily. So yes, if the adult is not convincing, address the child. That would be my message.
So it sounds as if for the next sessions, we need to have a class in what fathers want, and how we can support fathers to bring out the best in themselves, so that they can make this journey into fatherhood something which is completely fulfilling for them. So, so we'd love to hear your comments in the discussions, so that we can, better know what you would like to hear in the future, what you've liked, what has been helpful for you, whether it's for this panel, for the other sessions. Any feedback that you can give us is always welcome, so that we can move forward together. And I think this the men's panel and how we can develop that is a vital part of what the Birthing the New Humanities mission is about. So let's move forward together.
I would like to say something. I really appreciate that we had a panel here on the conference. And I think that's something what women can do in their space, just to put this topic on the radar. Because very often it's not even a topic. Birth is like something the woman gives. She makes the heavy lifting. So what is the man doing? It's, and being present is usually very hard to sell. What you see physically, massages, all that has its value. Being present and heal with presence, that's not so easy. So to bring it up on the radar with a book, with talking, with some writing, not telling what a man should do, but by bringing up the topic, that I think women can do in their field, and that has its effect with the intention, what we heard yesterday.
Fantastic. So that's wonderful. And with that, we need to close off our session for today and get ready for all the wonderful things coming your way tomorrow.